There have been instances where carbon trading has allowed for some activities, especially in the early years, that we'd rather forget and not think about anymore. But I think those were a minority. And by and large, experience with cap and trade, even with carbon offsetting, has showed that it does work. And I think it's an important tool because businesses like it, they understand it, and they can work with it.
How significant is China's new carbon trading scheme?
Well, in one fell swoop, you could say it's creating the largest cap and trade system ever in existence, simply because the Chinese market is so large. And even though it's limited to one sector, that alone makes it larger than the European Union's emissions trading system, which has been in place for 15 years and was previously the largest one. So that, I think, tells you a lot already on the scope and importance of this step.
And are we comparing like with like? I mean, I wonder, how does China's carbon emissions trading scheme differ from the existing practices that we might be familiar with in Europe?
Well, there's certainly differences. On the one hand, I think that China was very smart to look at experiences in Europe and North America, and there have, of course, also been collaborations, ongoing partnerships and activities to learn from the experiences, but it is still a bit unique. One big difference is that it's not a traditional cap and trade system with an absolute limit, but it's an intensity-based limit, simply because China is growing faster, so it allows more breathing room for power generation, but also once other sectors join, for those sectors to keep on growing while decarbonizing. And the other thing I just mentioned, essentially, or implied, is it's only limited to the power sector, which the EU's trading system is wider. It does include a lot of different industries in aviation. That will probably follow in China over time.
I just want to pick up on that. I mean, is there a timetable where those other sectors might be included?
I don't know myself if that's already been spelled out. I've always heard reporting and discussion that that is sort of the long-term plan, to keep expanding it to other sectors. But it is a smart, I think, option to start with power, because for one important reason is power is not usually traded across borders, or very minimally. Whereas the moment you start including industry, you have industries, you have plants, factories that produce goods that trade internationally, have to compete in international markets. And that's a huge distinction, a huge difference politically. It makes it a lot more sensitive. So I think buying time to learn how the system works and to give the other sectors an opportunity to see that it works is quite important to enable that transition and expansion.
Well, China's timeline is 2060. That's when China wants to hit net zero carbon emissions. I wonder what impact this announcement will have in reaching that goal.
Well, I think that the cap and trade, or the emissions trading system, will be a huge pillar in the tool set that China has and is deploying to achieve its 2060 target, especially once it starts expanding beyond the power sector. It's a bit early to sort of predict exactly what share of emissions reductions will come from it, because we don't yet really know what the power and what the emission allowance prices will be, the trading volumes. There's a lot of things that what the market will only reveal over time, and of course many design elements, the benchmarks and how they become stricter over time for this free allocation of allowances. Those things will only start sort of unfolding in the next years. That's when we get a better sense. But it is a big piece, I think, and the EU can probably be sort of a proxy. And as you know from the European Union, I mean, it's definitely been, and the EU always refers to it, the central pillar, the centerpiece of European climate policy.